There is a certain kind of person in this world. Maybe you know someone like this, or maybe you are this person. They are kind, they are generous, they give their whole heart to everyone they meet, and never take advantage of anyone. Yet fate seems exceptionally harsh to them. In relationships, their genuine love is met with betrayal. In their career, they work incredibly. In their family, they are the one carrying the heaviest load, yet they are the most easily ignored. Have you seen someone like this? Are you someone like this? People often say, "No good deed goes unpunished." This saying carries a chilling, bone-deep sorrow. People say it so often that they actually start to believe it. It makes it seem like kindness is a sin and generosity is just foolishness. It makes it seem like only the manipulative, calculating people can thrive in this world. But I want to gently tell you right now that judgment is slightly off. It is missing one crucial element. That element is time. In Buddhist teachings, there is the concept of cause, condition, and karmic return. The cause is the seed you plant. The condition is the environment that allows it to grow. The return is the final harvest you experience. Karma is not simple math. It is a long, winding river. Sometimes you plant a seed of kindness upstream, but you have to travel a very long way downstream before you finally see the flower bloom. So to all the generous people currently going through hard times, to the kind souls who are being let down, betrayed, and pushed into the mud by life time and time again, you are not being punished. You are being purified. The Avatamsaka Sutra has a profoundly meaningful saying. It says that suffering is the greatest teacher for all living beings. Days of smooth sailing and comfort are pleasant, but there is a hidden danger in that comfort. It slowly dulls your soul like a frog in warm water. You do not feel the crisis. You do not see your own arrogance and stubbornness slowly building up. But great suffering acts like a roaring fire. It burns away the attachments, the naivety, the ego, and the weakness that you did not even know you had. Once all of that is burned away, what remains is your true essence. What remains is a heart strong enough to carry massive blessings. We often mistake a hard life for a cursed destiny. But if you shift your perspective, when the universe starts clearing the field around you, it is actually a very special kind of blessing. Those who leave you, those who betray you, and those agonizing experiences are all working together to do one single thing. They are removing the people and situations that do not belong in your destiny. They are clearing the space for a much grander path that is truly yours. This process hurts. It hurts so much that sometimes you might feel like there is no point in going on. But please remember this. The universe never mistreats true kindness. It just makes you arrive at your destination. But the place you finally arrive at will be far deeper and far wider than where the early arrivals end up. When we talk about blessings, most people picture a smooth business, endless wealth, a perfect family, and a healthy body. This imagination is not wrong, but it only paints the most superficial, pretty side of blessings. Truly profound blessings often have a very ugly disguise. There is a passage in the Diamond Sutra that many have read but few truly understand. It says that if a good person practices the teachings but is despised and humiliated by others, it is not a tragedy. It means that the heavy karmic debts they accumulated in past lives, which would have dragged them into deep suffering, are being erased through this mild humiliation in their current life. Once they pass this test, they will achieve supreme awakening and liberation. This is what Buddhism calls clearing heavy karma with a light retribution. This is an immense grace, even though it looks exactly like a punishment from the outside. Everyone brings accumulated karma into this life. Some debts are as heavy as mountains. If they are not cleared early, they will eventually explode in devastating ways. But sometimes the universe chooses another way. It arranges relatively lighter hardships early on, allowing you to pay off that massive debt bit by bit. It is like owing a massive fortune. The universe is letting you pay it off in small monthly installments instead of bankrupting you all at once. The process is long and painful, but in the end, the debt is cleared. You are still standing, and there is an even deeper concept here called adverse conditions for spiritual growth. Favorable conditions make you comfortable and happy. Adverse conditions bring pain, obstacles, and falls. On the surface, favorable is good and adverse is bad. But for the growth of your soul, the things that truly elevate your mind, they are the adverse ones. Why? Because favorable conditions only reinforce your existing habits. You already like being respected, so when respect comes, you just become more attached to it. You already enjoy comfort, so when comfort comes, your attachment to ease grows deeper. But adverse conditions act like a surgeon's. They slice open your attachments. They force you to look at the fear, greed, anger, and ego hidden deep inside you that you normally refuse to face. You can only let go of what you are willing to see, and only when you let go can your heart be truly free. You might ask, why do bad people seem to live so comfortably while good people suffer? In the short term, this is incredibly confusing and painful. But if you stretch out the timeline, the answer becomes obvious. Karma takes time to ripen. A seed planted today does not bear fruit tomorrow. The current smooth sailing of an evil person is simply the fruit of good deeds they planted in a previous life. It is not a reward for their current bad behavior. Meanwhile, the bad seeds they are planting right now are quietly growing underground. When the time is right, they will absolutely harvest that bitter fruit. And the suffering of a good person is often because their foundation of kindness is so strong. The universe is accelerating their karmic clearing, polished like a true diamond. The more it is cut and polished, the more brilliantly it will eventually shine. Ordinary stones are just left alone. Only diamonds go through the harshest cutting. If you are going through that harsh cutting right now, it is not a curse. It is proof that you are not just an ordinary stone. An esteemed Chinese educator once said that achieving early success in your youth is actually a great misfortune. At first, this sounds confusing. Isn't early success what everyone dreams of? But looking at it from a broader perspective, if a person gains wealth, fame, and status before their mind is mature and their character is solid, it is actually these things came too early and too easily. They never had the chance to understand the heavy weight behind them. They never had the chance to forge a resilient heart through suffering to protect those blessings. As a result, arrogance quietly grows in their heart. They start to feel that the world owes them and that others should naturally look up to them. It is replaced by reckless spending, indulgence, and overwhelming arrogance. And arrogance is the fastest way to leak away all your blessings. History is full of child prodigies who became ordinary or even destitute as adults. Their talent did not vanish. The vessel holding their talent was just never forged in the fire, so it shattered under the pressure. I love the Buddhist metaphor for this. How much water a vessel can hold depends entirely on its capacity. If you try to catch the water of a massive river with a tiny cup, it is not that the river refuses to give you water. It is simply that your cup is too small to hold it. Your character is the vessel. Your blessings are the river. The universe wants to give you massive blessings. But if your character is still the size of a tiny cup full of ego, stubbornness, and judgment, then even if the blessings arrive, You cannot keep them. They will leak right through the cracks of your mind. So before massive blessings arrive, the universe usually does one thing first. It shatters your tiny cup and helps you build a massive reservoir. Being shattered hurts immensely. That cup was the version of you that you were familiar with. It was your safety net. It was everything you were proud of. When it shatters into pieces, you stand there lost, feeling like your life is over. But that is not the end. That is your expansion. The ancient philosopher Laozi said that disaster and fortune lean on one another. The suffering you experience when you are young is a signal that great blessings are approaching. It is destiny testing your shoulders to see if they are broad enough to carry what is coming. When destiny hits you hard, it usually means it has incredibly high expectations for you. A person completely abandoned by the universe is just left to drift comfortably. Only those chosen for greatness are thrown into the deepest fires. For the most, having nothing when you are young is a special gift. It forces you to look inward to find the version of yourself that does not rely on external things or the approval of others. And that true self is the most solid foundation of your destiny. The deepest layer of ancient Chinese wisdom is a profound awareness of how it is absolute clarity. The ancient sages understood that obstacles and dilemmas are not accidents. They are an essential part of life itself. They are the checkpoints you must pass to reach maturity and completion. The Book of Changes, or I Ching, is a masterclass in the laws of the universe. It has several hexagrams dedicated entirely to hardship. There is the hexagram of initial difficulty, like a seed struggling to push through hard soil. It tells us that early struggle is a sign that life is brewing. Do not quit just because the beginning is hard. There is the hexagram of stagnation, where heaven and earth are disconnected, and everything you try seems to fail. This hexagram tells us that the absolute peak of stagnation is the exact moment right before the breakthrough, just like the darkest part of the night is right before the dawn. There is the hexagram of the abyss, representing trap after trap. It teaches us that the only way out of extreme danger is to maintain absolute sincerity and truth in your heart. As long as your heart is true, the path will appear. There is the hexagram of limping, representing moving forward with extreme difficulty. It tells us that when external progress is impossible, we must turn inward and cultivate our character, rather than complaining about the world. Hardship is a mirror reflecting the parts of our soul that still need polishing. The ancient sages saw the entire roadmap of suffering thousands of years ago, and they left a message for us. Mencius made this perfectly clear. He said that when heaven is about to place a great responsibility on a person, it will first frustrate their spirit, exhaust their muscles, starve their body, and subject them to extreme poverty. It will block everything they try to do. All of this is to shake their mind, toughen their nature, and increase their abilities where they are lacking. This is not cruelty. This is training. Just like forging a legendary sword, you must throw the iron into the roaring furnace to burn away the impurities. Only through relentless hammering can the blade become sharp enough to cut through anything. A person chosen by the universe will never have a smooth road. Their path will be covered in thorns, but every single thorn is completing a necessary step in their spiritual evolution. Let me tell you a story. Let us call the main character Shantai. He was born into a wealthy family. His father built a massive trading business from nothing. Shantai grew up with the best food, the best schools, and the best friends. Everyone knew who he was. He was brilliant, and people constantly praised him, telling him he would achieve great things. He grew up with a quiet, confident pride. He believed the world was friendly and that human hearts were warm. He believed that if you treat people with genuine kindness, the world will naturally treat you the same way. He believed this down to his very bones, but when he turned 20, fate suddenly changed its face. His father's business partner, a friend of 15 years, conspired with outsiders and completely drained the family business. It happened so fast that before they could react, the business was bankrupt and creditors were pounding on the door. The man who orchestrated this was the very same uncle who used to smile and call Shankai his favorite nephew. Shankai watched his father's hair turn white overnight. He watched his mother quietly cry. He watched their massive home become empty. Neighbors who used to greet them warmly now turned their backs and pretended not to see them. His father's closest friends vanished without a trace when they needed help the most. For the first time, Shankai felt how paper-thin human hearts could be. They moved into a tiny, cramped rental house on the edge of the city. His father fell deeply ill from Shankai went from a wealthy young master to a boy desperately running around, trying to find work to feed his family. He knocked on strange doors, carrying his educated pride. Most doors were coldly shut in his face. He had no experience and no network. His identity as a wealthy heir had become a cruel joke. People mocked him to his face, telling him to drop his arrogant attitude now that his family was ruined. Shankai would go home, close the door, face the rough, dark walls, and cry uncontrollably. But after crying, he still had to go out, because his family was waiting for him. During those unbearable days, Shankai realized something. Out of all the friends who used to surround him and call him a brother, only a tiny handful were willing to even visit him. Most people quietly distanced themselves, acting as if poverty was a contagious disease. One friend, whom Shankai had personally helped financially in the past, not only refused to help, but actually started spreading vicious rumors about Shankai's father, saying he deserved to lose everything. When Shankai heard this, something inside him cracked. It wasn't anger. It was a bone-deep, chilling cold. But that crack let the freezing wind in, and it also allowed the very first ray of light to enter. In extreme poverty and humiliation, the universe was slowly doing something. It was peeling off the shell of superiority that Shankai wore. That shell was the filter through which he understood the world. With that shell, he was loved because he was a wealthy heir. With that shell, he thought friendship was real when it was actually built on mutual benefit. With that shell, he only saw the beautiful surface of the world, completely blind to its ugly realities. But now the shell was shattered. Without the filter, he finally began to see the world exactly as it was. It wasn't the glamorous boy who experienced it. It was this destitute, humiliated young man lifting his head out of the mud, seeing the raw truth of the human world with his own bare eyes for the very first time. Buddhism calls this the truth of suffering. This truth is not a tragedy. It is the starting point of awakening. Shankai's awakening started with that crack. Sometimes the universe arranges one final test for you. This test doesn't come from a failed business or a betrayed friendship. It comes from the person you care about and trust the absolute most. In his third year of poverty, Shankai met a girl named Lan. She was gentle and smiled like a spring flower. During Shankai's darkest days, she gave him a shred of warmth. She didn't mind his poverty. She didn't mind his messy situation. She said she saw him for who he truly was. Shankai thought he had finally found the person who understood him. He handed his entire heart over to her. For years he woke up before dawn to do hard labor, saving every single penny, dreaming of giving her a better future. He believed that a true heart would always be rewarded with a true heart. This was his deepest childhood faith, but fate is a cruel teacher. The final lesson it had to teach him was the total destruction of that very faith. Her family found her another match, a wealthy grain merchant in town with a stable future. She hesitated, but ultimately she chose to leave. The way she left wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good enough. She met him one last time and said some polite words. The general idea was, "I care about you, but my future cannot survive." Shankai didn't cry. He even told her he understood. But shortly after she left, Shankai heard something else. When she spoke about him to others, she said that being with a man in his pathetic condition would only drag her down, and that a man like him had no future whatsoever. Hearing those words come out of the mouth of the woman, who once claimed to see him for who he truly was, completely broke him. His lifelong belief that genuine kindness guarantees a genuine return crumbled like a piece of dry clay baked in the sun. It shattered into a million pieces of dust. Someone later asked Shankai how he survived that period. He said he didn't survive it. He died and came back to life. It wasn't just despair, it was the complete death of his heart. Like a tree in the dead of winter, all the leaves had fallen, and even the branches were withered. From the outside, it looked like a piece of dead wood, but deep in the freezing ground, the roots were still alive. During that time, Shankai began to experience true solitude. He stopped looking outward for warmth. He stopped asking others to prove that he was worthy of being loved. He slowly pulled his attention all the way back into the absolute depths of his own mind. Buddhism calls this the mind. Renunciation is not running away. It is not being cold. It is not locking your heart away. It is a state of crystal clear awareness, knowing that absolutely nothing and no one in this world can be your permanent reliance. Not because people are inherently bad, but because everything is impermanent. Getting attached to anyone will eventually. Shankai's renunciation was forcefully squeezed out of him by those cruel words. Later, he read a Zen quote that said, "If you put your heart in anyone else's hands, you will eventually lose yourself. Only when you place your heart firmly within yourself can you truly learn how to love others." He carved those words into his soul. From that moment on, he was no longer a person waiting for others to give him value. He became a person pulling power from his own depths. This was the true starting point of his total transformation. In those days of solitude, Shankai walked into the mountains. He wasn't trying to hide from the world. He just wanted a quiet place to carefully pick up the shattered pieces of his heart and figure out exactly what shape they were. Deep in the mountains, there was a tiny temple with an elderly monk. The monk didn't say much when he saw Shankai. He just invited him to stay. By day, Shankai chopped wood, carried water, and swept the courtyard. In the evenings, they would occasionally sit by the temple door and talk. One day, Shankai asked the monk, "Master, I have never done anything to hurt anyone in my entire life. Why does heaven treat me like this?" The monk didn't answer directly. Instead, he led Shankai to a pine forest behind the temple. The forest grew on a steep, rocky slope with terrible soil. The pine trees had rooted themselves deep into the cracks of the rocks. Their trunks were twisted and weathered. They were not pretty to look at. The monk patted one of the trunks and told Shankai to feel it. Shankai pressed his hand against it. The wood was as hard as iron then. The monk took him down to the flatlands at the bottom of the mountain, where a grove of white poplar trees grew. They were tall, straight, and vibrantly green. They looked much better than the pine trees on the mountain. The monk plucked a leaf from the poplar tree and bent it. It snapped with a crisp sound. Then he walked back and snapped the thinnest branch from one of the mountain pine trees. He bent it with the same force. The branch bent deeply, but it did not break. It had a profound resilience. The monk said, "The trees on the plains enjoy perfect weather and fertile soil. They grow fast and look beautiful, but they cannot survive a real storm. The pines in the rocky cracks have no rich soil and no protection. Every single inch of their growth is a violent battle against obstacles, but because of this their wood is dense and resilient enough to stand tall through 1,000 years of wind and snow." Shankai was silent for a long time. In that moment, something locked tightly inside his heart began to quietly loosen. The monk continued, "You said you treated people with a genuine heart, and they betrayed you. You feel it is unfair. But let me ask you this. Was your genuine heart conditional? Did your genuine heart expect them to return the favor?" Shankai froze for a second and then said, "Yes." The monk nodded. "That is called a transaction. That is not a genuine heart. True compassion asks for absolutely no return. You haven't reached that level yet. That is why you are still in pain." Shankai sat silently on a mountain rock for the entire afternoon. He finally understood. His old belief that his kindness deserved kindness in return seemed generous on the surface, but it actually hid a very sneaky attachment. He had turned his sacrifices into expectations of others. He had turned his kindness into a demand. And when that expectation fell through, the anger and pain he felt was actually the agony of his ego being shattered, not the loss of pure, selfless love. This is exactly what Buddhism calls ego attachment. The attachment to needing your value validated, the attachment to the attachment to thinking, "I am a good person, therefore I must be treated well." These attachments are heavy chains. They wear the disguise of kindness, but they nail you firmly to a cross of suffering. True kindness has no chains. When you give, it is given. It has nothing to do with how the other person responds. This kind of kindness is true compassion. As the Diamond Sutra says, awaken the mind without resting it on anything. Not resting on anything means letting go of attachment. Awakening the mind means you still take action, you still love, you still give. Having both at the exact same time is having a Vajra heart, a diamond heart, solid but not compassionate but never naive. Shankai lived in the mountains for nearly 2 years. In those 2 years, he stopped trying to change anyone. He stopped trying to prove himself to anyone. He just chopped wood, carried water, swept, meditated, and read. He picked up his shattered heart piece by piece and welded it back together into a shape far stronger and more transparent than before. He transitioned from a fragile kindness to an indestructible diamond heart. Fragile kindness is terrified of being hurt, terrified of being rejected, and terrified of being let down. So it constantly seeks validation from the outside. But an indestructible diamond heart is a steady, unshakable compassion. It relies on no one's approval. It doesn't diminish when someone betrays it. It is entirely self-sufficient, endlessly flowing, and perfectly still. 10 years later, Shankai returned to the city. Through years of grinding effort, he rebuilt his career drop by drop. It wasn't smooth sailing, but every step was solid. He no longer needed to prove anything to anyone. He just silently did the work and silently grew. He eventually saw the uncle who had ruined his father. The once arrogant businessman was now broke, drowning in lawsuits, abandoned by his children, and living a miserable old age. He saw the friends who had kicked him when he was down. Some were depressed. Others were trapped in their own disasters. He even heard news of his past love. The wealthy merchant she married wasn't as great as she imagined, and her marriage was miserable. But Shankai felt absolutely no joy in their suffering. He felt no resentment. All he felt was a profound, quiet emptiness. It was like watching a play where you already knew the ending. The play finishes. You gently set down your teacup, stand up, and quietly leave the theater. That is true, undisturbed peace. We all grew up reading Journey to the West. We loved watching the Monkey King Sunday Wukong cause chaos in heaven. We watched the monk Tang Sanzang and his disciples fight demons and overcome endless dangers to retrieve the sacred scriptures. Most people watch it as an action-packed myth full of magic and monsters. But if you look closely, it is actually a profound spiritual epic about cultivation, enduring trials, and achieving enlightenment. In Buddhism, it is said that the 81 trials the group faced were not random. They were carefully designed. Every single trial represents an attachment, an obstacle, and a checkpoint on the path of spiritual growth that must be broken through. The Monkey King's magical staff is taken away by the Dragon King. He causes chaos in heaven and is crushed under a mountain by the Buddha for 500 years. He protects his master, but is repeatedly kicked out of the group, left drifting in the sky with nowhere to go. If we translate these plot points into modern terms, it is exactly this. Your abilities are suppressed by your environment. Your hard work gets zero recognition. The people you trust the absolute most turn their backs on you in your most critical moment. Does this feeling sound familiar to you? Who is the Monkey King? He represents every single person currently going through a massive turning point in their destiny. You have talent, you have energy, but that energy hasn't yet been tamed into a power that serves a higher purpose. That golden headband placed on the monkey is a restriction. But it is also those 500 years trapped under a mountain are a punishment. But they are also a humbling surrender. The Monkey King without his staff, crushed under a mountain, is the most powerless Monkey King. But he is also the Monkey King closest to true transformation, because you must first let go of the arrogant belief that you are invincible before you can truly learn to serve a higher path. The resources, the networks, and the external safety nets you are losing right now. Their disappearance is not the end of you. It is the experience of having your magical staff taken away. It is forcing you to turn inward to look inside yourself. Who are the demons? They are your own inner fears, anger, attachments, and arrogance, wearing the costumes of external problems, coming to collect a debt. Every person who causes you pain, every situation that breaks you down, is a demon testing you, testing whether you have truly absorbed the magical weapons of mindfulness, compassion, wisdom, and endurance into your very bones. And what are those magical weapons? They are the courage you find to stand back up every single time you fall. They are your ability to remain soft-hearted and kind even after being misunderstood and betrayed. Instead of turning bitter, they are your ability to trust in life itself, even when you are pushed into a dead end. These are your true magical weapons. Why did it take 4 disciples to make the journey? Instead of the Monkey King just flying to the west to grab, because the scriptures are not just pieces of paper. The scriptures are every single trial on the road. They are the tiny bits of growth achieved after every disaster. It is 4 incredibly flawed individuals with totally different personalities, grinding against each other and elevating each other over a massive journey. True enlightenment is not reaching. It is the countless times you fall down, crawl back up, and transcend yourself along the way to that finish line. The hardships you are going through right now are your 81 trials. They are not a curse, they are a masterclass. In Buddhism, the number 81 is not just a random digit, it is the symbol of absolute completion. Only when you walk through every single trial do you achieve true perfection. After hearing all this, you might say, I understand the logic, but understanding it doesn't make the pain in my heart stop. It is true. Knowing something and actually doing it are two entirely different universes. So, I want to give you some specific actionable methods right now. They are just real effective exercises to help you slowly transform your pain into forward momentum. Practice number 1. Establish a second-person perspective. When you are drowning in pain, you are completely fused with that pain. You are the person suffering. All you feel is agony, but you can practice pulling yourself out of that. Treat the version of you that is suffering as imagine you are sitting in a movie theater. There is a character on the screen going through agony. You can feel their pain, but you are not that character. You are the audience. In Buddhism, this practice is called mindful observation. Observation means seeing clearly without distortion. Try saying to yourself right now, the me who is in pain is currently going through but the deeper me, the unmoving, quiet observer, is sitting right here keeping them company, watching them, supporting them. This second-person perspective doesn't make you cold to yourself. It just pulls a piece of your consciousness out of the fire so you can stay awake and stay in control. Because if your entire being is swallowed by pain, that is when you truly lose control. At first, you might only be able to pull yourself out for 1 second before getting sucked back in. That is okay. 1 second is still 1 second slowly. You will stay out longer, and your sense of control will grow stronger. Practice number 2. The karmic loop mindset. When you constantly ask, why is this happening to me? You are fighting, but if you shift your thinking, you will realize that everything happening to you is simply your own karma playing out. It might not be from this lifetime. It might be debt accumulated over countless lifetimes. And the fact that these debts are maturing and being cleared right now is actually a beautiful thing. Stop agonizing over why me. Shift to a mindset of profound. Thank these experiences for clearing your karmic debt early. Thank this pain for forging your soul in the fire. This might sound incredibly difficult and completely counterintuitive, but when you genuinely face your hardships with this mindset, you will notice that the pain's grip on you massively weakens, because you are no longer a passive victim taking a beating. You are an active spiritual warrior, consciously clearing your debt and actively choosing to grow. In Buddhism, this mental shift is called rejoicing in merit. It means raising a heart of acceptance, flow, and gratitude for absolutely everything that happens. This doesn't mean you just lie down and take abuse without trying to change things. It means before you try to change things, you mentally drop the crushing burden of asking, why me practice? Number 3, hardening the heart and detaching from feedback. Many people leak massive amounts of energy through one massive vulnerability. They desperately need the approval of others to feel valuable. If someone praises them, they soar. If someone criticizes them, they collapse. If someone treats them well, they are full of energy. If someone is cold to them, they lose all motivation. This state of being hands the control switch of your life energy entirely over to other people. Hardening your heart doesn't mean becoming cruel. Your sense of worth, your drive, and your happiness must be sourced directly from your own inner core, completely independent of external feedback. How do you practice this? Give yourself a dedicated block of time every single day where you consume absolutely zero external input. Do not look at your phone. Do not scroll social media. Do not seek anyone's response. During this time, you will feel intensely uncomfortable. That discomfort is your addiction to external validation having withdrawals. Sit through it. Do not run away. Do not immediately grab your phone or go find someone to talk to. Let it pass. You will discover that, slowly, you don't need anyone's applause to know you are. You don't need anyone's company to rest peacefully in the silence of solitude. That is the exact moment your energy begins to internalize. Practice number 4. Noble silence and storing power in solitude. The Tao Te Ching says knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others requires force. Mastering yourself requires true strength. During the phase of enduring heavy trials, many people have a burning urge to explain themselves, to make others understand them, to prove to the world that they didn't do anything wrong. This urge will drain massive amounts of your energy. Try practicing noble silence. Speak less. Especially stop saying things designed to explain yourself or seek approval. You absolutely do not need to explain what you are going through to anyone. The universe knows, the laws of karma know, and you know that is enough. Take all that energy you were wasting trying to explain yourself and fight others, pull it back in and store it deep inside. Wait for the right time, just like the earth in the dead of winter. On the surface it looks completely dead and desolate, but underground the roots are quietly storing massive amounts of energy, waiting for the exact moment spring arrives to burst through the soil with unstoppable force. Your period of painful solitude is that winter. Do not waste it. If you are still watching this, I thank you for walking with me through this journey of destiny, blessings, and rebirth. If you made it this far, it means something inside your heart is quietly aching right now. Maybe it is the crack of a broken relationship. Maybe it is a devastating setback in your career. Maybe it is the agonizing experience of pouring out your genuine heart, only to be met with disappointment and betrayal. Or maybe it is an even deeper loneliness, the kind of loneliness where you feel like you have done so much yet no one sees you, no one understands you, and absolutely no one cares. I want to softly tell you this. You are not being abandoned, you are being The people who hurt you, the events that broke you, they did not show up to destroy you. They showed up to crack open the hard shell around you that was blocking the light from getting in. The Canadian poet Leonard Cohen wrote a line that resonated around the entire world. There is a crack in everything. That is how the light gets in. I think that is the absolute best footnote for everything we have talked about today. You thought those cracks were ugly scars. You thought being shattered was a humiliation. But those cracks are the exact entry points for light to flood into your life. Without those cracks, you are an airtight container. No matter how much light shines on you, nothing gets inside. With those cracks, you begin to radiate light. That is the ultimate proof that you are finally truly alive. It is the way your soul begins to wake up. I know that right now you might still be sitting in the dark, but I want to tell you that the dark is not the end of the road. In Buddhism, there is a concept called the Great Vow. A person carrying a great vow is destined to walk an incredibly difficult path because their vow requires a heart massive enough and strong enough to carry it. And that heart can only be forged in the fires of heavy trials. The suffering you are in right now is the incubation period for your great vow. May you hold strong through this time. May you refuse to give up in that terrifying pitch-black moment right before the dawn. May every single crack in your life become a gateway for the light. May every single tear you shed water the most beautiful flower deep inside your soul. May your heart become an indestructible diamond. Your great vow will Welcome to Sacred Dharma. If this message brought some light into your dark moments today, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It truly helps us share this healing energy with more souls who need to hear it. In the comments below, type "I am being rebuilt" to claim this energy for yourself. Share your story with us. We are all walking this path. Thank you for your time, and may you find your indestructible peace.